You're sitting in a doctor's office. You've been waiting for a minute. The door opens. The doctor walks in, sits down, looks at the chart for a second, not at you, and says, "It looks like we've been dealing with this for a while now." And then the doctor looks up and says, "What are we hoping to accomplish today?" Nothing aggressive, kind of standard. Nothing weird really happened, but something moved there in your psychology. I want you to catch what it was. That first line that the doctor said to you, that is a frame. So it plants the idea that this problem is ongoing. It also says that everything is shared. It says we, not you. So that situation carries weight. You didn't agree to any of that stuff, but your nervous system filled in all the blanks as truth. So then the question the doctor asks, what are we hoping to accomplish today? That's obviously not a real question. It tells you the scope of what you're allowed to desire, what you can want. It already assumes there's a shared goal with a little fence around it. So you walk in as this person with a body and a question or two. 10 seconds later, you're a collaborative patient that was working on a team-managed problem with very limited objectives. So all those moments use the exact same architecture to come together. It's a statement that sets the frame and a question that locks you inside of it. We did it for years, hundreds of rooms, thousands of conversations. So by the end of tonight, you will see it, and you're gonna see it everywhere. Here's where most people start off when they try to take control of a conversation. They ask a question. That's usually the whole move. They walk into a room, a doctor's office, negotiation, a meeting with somebody who outranks them, let's say. So what are we told by so many leaders and stuff? Ask better questions. The person asking the questions controls the conversation. You've heard that before. Probably every sales book out there, every leadership seminar, all that kind of communication course kind of stuff. And it's absolutely wrong. It's totally wrong. Questions do matter, but a question by itself and is what I will call a naked question, strip naked question with nothing in front of it. It doesn't really control anything. So all the naked question does is operate inside of whatever frame is already running. And in most places, that frame might not belong to you. And if you think about this for 1 second, you walk into a doctor's office and say, "Can you explain what's going on with my blood work?" Great question, right? It's reasonable, it's super clear, and it does just about nothing to really change the dynamic. You're a patient requesting information from an authority. So the frame was set the moment you sat down in that chair and your question is confirmed. So you're asking from below. It's the same thing in a corporate environment. You're in a meeting at some VP senior person and you say, what's the priority on this project going forward? Or what's the deadline here? Great question, but all it does is reinforce that the VP decides the priority and you are the one receiving an answer, right? So the question didn't take anything. It gave something away. It gave away your frame, your position. And if you go some more higher stakes, blah, 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 and you say, what would it take to settle this before we go to trial? So you just showed your hand, right? That's a naked question. All 5 of these kind of do something different. They kind of set someone up for a different type of frame, and each one of these kind of makes a category of question possible. So the first type is pacing. And pacing is the simplest and probably the most powerful. So a pacing statement describes what is already observably true. That's all it does. You're stating a reality as it is. It's something the other person they can see it, they can feel it, they probably already know it, or they're absolutely going to agree with it. The reason that this is so powerful is kind of simple here. You say something true, the nervous system says, yep, internally. There's this little micro agreement that happens below our awareness. And once that little yes is running, whatever comes next can ride on it, especially if it's a question. So an example of this might be a boss coming in and saying, we've we've been going back and forth on this for a couple of weeks now. That's pacing, right? So you call it whatever you want, but it's just true. And because it's true, there's nothing to resist. The other person's critical faculty has no desire to activate or turn on. They hear it, they agree internally. Whatever comes next is kind of already in agreement mode a little bit. And when they realize it's a question, they get forced into the frame. Let's do a corporate setting really quick. So let's say a boss comes in, or let's say you are walking in talking to people and you say, you know what, the team hit every benchmark on the last 2 quarters. And now you ask, what would need to be true to expand the budget for next quarter? So that question without the pacing statement sounds like you're asking for money. With the pacing statement, it sounds like the logical next step. So the brain kind of grabs onto it a little bit. The statement did all the work, the question just walks through the door. Type number 2 is alignment. And you're like, oh, alignment kind of sounds like pacing. It's different because pacing is describing reality. Alignment describes a shared intent or a common desired outcome, if you want to say it that way. You're telling the other person before they've committed to anything that both of you are on the same side. So what this does neurologically, it collapses that adversarial frame. So the moment someone hears, you know, we're trying to solve the same problem, even if they haven't agreed to that yet, their nervous system starts framing into cooperation mode. And they didn't decide to. The frame told them to do that. So like an example is like, I want to make sure we're both getting what we need out of this. Simple, calm, does something very specific. It makes it almost impossible for the other person to be really adversarial without looking stupid. Because you basically just shared a declared purpose. So if they push back, they're pushing back against collaboration. And right after that, what would it look like if we cut one initiative to protect the other 3? But with that statement, you become a strategic thinker type of person. An alignment statement doesn't mean that they agree that we're sharing a fact. They'll agree that we have something in common. All right, so type number 3 is resonance statements. And this is the one probably, I would assume most people will probably mess up because it requires you to actually see the other person. Like to see what they're carrying into the room and name it before that person names it. So what we're really doing is reflecting the other person's internal state, their priority, their frustration, maybe something they're pissed off about, showing that to them. And when you do that accurately, something happens that you can literally watch. Their shoulders are going to drop. You can see this. Their breathing changes because somebody just told them they don't have to fight to be understood, because that's what most of us walk into a room hoping. So the fight that they were preparing for kind of evaporates a little bit. In a corporate world, you might hear something like, I could be wrong, but I think you're frustrated because this is the 3rd time the scope of this project has changed and nobody has acknowledged that it cost you something every single time. And right after that, what would make this version feel worth committing to for you? So they were ready to fight, right? But we take it out of the room by naming what nobody else is going to name. Resonance is the most powerful of these 5, in my opinion. The 4th decision type. This is concession. This one's great, especially if you want to take authority and make it sound like you're not. But the frame is more powerful than everything. So we're basically giving up a little bit of ground. We're acknowledging some kind of a cost that we had to pay, or a limitation that we have, maybe a mistake that we made, or that we're going through something difficult or having a hard time doing something. And we're doing it before the other person forces us to. That means we're in charge. The reason this works so well, I think, is because it disarms a counterattack before the counterattack can be launched at all. So most people that work in super high frame environments are always ready for a fight. If you think of like the show Suits, which is about a lawyer who spends his life posturing, in full posturing, pretend alpha mode. But these people walk around braced. They have their objections. They have like a full magazine of objections ready to go. You say, what would need to be true for you to say yes to me anyway on this? So that's a question that you cannot ever ask without that concession first, right? It would sound arrogant, super arrogant. But after the concession, it sounds like the kind of direct thing that gets respect, because you earned the respect first in like 10 seconds it took you to make that statement. So the concession is never weakness. That's the one thing I just want to leave you with on this one. It's the thing that kind of earns you the right to ask a deep question or a hard question. So concessions should always come before hard questions. The fifth is presupposition. And this is the sharpest tool in the kit. And I think it's the one that people underestimate because it looks like it's doing very little. A presupposition statement embeds an assumption as a fact by treating it like it's already been established. So the assumption lives inside the language like a foundation under a house. You might say, since we're moving forward with the expansion, even though nobody said we're moving forward just yet. Hasn't been decided, but your brain kind of treats the sentence as settled depending on the environment. The other person would have to stop, back up, and explicitly challenge you. And in a corporate world, the presupposition is like, now that we've established this team can deliver at this level, what is the argument against giving us more runway on the next phase, on the next project that we do? That's why these questions become so massively powerful in setting a frame and controlling the frame and getting outcomes. Presupposition does the selling. The question just asks them to argue against something that feels already decided. Look, I know you don't want to watch another ad. I don't blame you, but I have seen this change too many lives to just let you scroll past it. There's a moment that most people have where something feels off in a conversation and we ignore it. And it's not because you're wrong, but it's just because we don't trust what we're seeing. And that's where all of this starts. NCI Level 1 isn't about learning a bunch of tricks. It's about finally understanding what you've been noticing your whole life already. You start to see behavior a lot more clearly. The body language, the emotional shifts, the intent that's behind someone's actions. So you don't guess anymore. You read what's going on. You understand what's going on. And you can actually respond with precision. Most people ignore what they see. This is where you learn to trust it. NCI 1 is a foundational course in behavior profiling, and the link is right down in the description. So the statement by itself, obviously, not going to do very much. It might land, might not, but it doesn't require anything from the other person till we get to the question phase. The question is what forces participation. We're making the other person step inside the frame and act like it belongs to them, like it has the whole time. There's 5 types here. They move faster than the statement because once the statement's done the work, the question doesn't need to be really complicated. It doesn't need to be a complex question. So the first question is directional. And a directional question, and I know this sounds like, I've got to mix up these 2 different sets of 5, which could be, 25 possible scenarios. I promise you'll have a framework for this, and even if you screw this up, you're going to learn it in no time. It's going to be your go-to technique. Okay, so directional question points toward a conclusion without stating it. So we're building a little hallway that only goes one direction and then asking them to kind of walk. What do you think happens to the team if we keep running at this pace for another 6 months? We don't say the team's going to burn out. They arrived at the answer themselves. It's their conclusion now. They're going to own it. So you didn't argue anything. You're not pushing anybody. You're just pointing and letting their brain do all the rest of the work. It's the power of a directional question. If you say, if we don't address this in the next quarter, where is that going to leave us going into the next fiscal year? All right, so type number 2 is the assumptive question. The assumptive question jumps over the decision and asks about what comes after it. So the decision itself that I want this person to make is never even questioned. It's treated as already made. So we might say, when we roll this out next month, do you want to start with the East Coast team or go like company-wide with all this? Or instead of do you want to, you ask advice. So like when we roll this out next month, do you think it would be the wisest to do a little bit at a time or launch company-wide all of the fastest? I'm just curious because I've seen you do a lot of interesting stuff that seemed to work out before. So nobody said we're rolling this out. Nobody said it's happening next month, but the question blew past that stuff and they kind of accepted it. That's the question type that pairs probably most naturally with presupposition, right? Which probably makes sense to everybody. The statement installs a little assumption, and then the assumptive asks them to operate inside of it. But number 3 is elicitation. Elicitation is the art of getting information. Seth, you said NLP technique. What I think you misspelled Plato. Is the art of getting data from people without the other person feeling like they're giving it to you. So most questions feel like extraction, interrogation. You know what they do? They shine a light on your intent. So if you need to be a little bit more indirect, this is what you're going to do. So we don't get someone's guard up, we don't let them filter, and we don't let them manage what they share. We make them less cautious about management. Elicitation should feel more like a conversation, like thinking out loud together. So it's not that somebody decides to hand you something because you asked. The question made it feel, or the statement made it feel like a natural thing. And these sound similar to the questions, except they're statements. You might say, I've been trying to figure out how teams like yours usually handle the budgeting on something this massive. So no question mark, and that's part of the point. So number 4 is the reframe, my favorite. And the cool thing about number 4 is it's like a Lego that fits all of the statements. So a reframe question takes a current lens, whatever the other person is kind of looking through, and then kind of swaps it without announcing it, obviously. So the question itself is the lens change, not the statement. So you might say, what if this isn't a budget problem? What if it's a sequencing problem? And then they're going to be like, what? Explain. What do you mean? Everything up to this point has been about money. Everybody in the room is thinking about money. And in one sentence, you can pick up the lens they were all looking through and replace it in one little question. So now anyone who keeps talking about a budget sounds like they missed the real issue here. Or you might say something like, what would we be doing differently if we knew this deal was going to close? So that shifts the entire frame. And that would be like an internal team. Like I'm not going to say that to a client. Number 5 is diagnostic, a diagnostic question. This is kind of like power position. And a diagnostic question puts you in the role of the one evaluating. This is the most powerful when you need to slap a frame down and not trigger that person's ego at all, because it's in the form of a question. So the moment you're in that little role, the other person's role of being assessed, whether they realize it or not, and typically they won't. So you might say to somebody, I'm just curious, walk me through how you arrived at that number. And notice how just the phrase, I'm just curious, allows you to be able to say whatever you want, even if it's to somebody that's an authority figure. It positions you as the one who needs to be satisfied. The other person's kind of justifying, explaining, and maybe just building a case for you. Or you might say, help me understand the thinking behind that timeline. Exact same move. Ask them to show their work, just like in high school, right? And the person showing their work is never, ever the one holding the frame. The person asking to see the work, that's where the authority sits. And you're doing that covertly. I want to talk about what happens when this doesn't work really quick. Inevitably going to happen. So everything I just showed you does work. Trying is the opposite of having. So the moment they can see effort, the game is over. And if you're in a relationship or a narcissist or you work with a narcissist, you become the person reaching and they become the person sitting back watching you do all the reaching, right? So here's what you do instead. And I guarantee you this will work. Step 1, you read the miss. You read, what did I miss a little bit? So before you do anything, you need to know what happened, because not all misses are the same. Sometimes it's because the other person wasn't listening. They're in their own head. They're already 3 moves ahead in their own agenda in their mind. So your statement was technically perfect and absolutely well executed. It just showed up in an empty space. Nobody was home to really receive it because they were in their head, which means I have a focus generation problem, right? So the statement was fine. The tactic was fine. I have a problem generating focus in human beings. Sometimes it's not going to land because they heard it and maybe they rejected the premise. You've tried to pace reality and their version of reality is just way different. You ever try to talk to a schizophrenic and say, dude, I promise you, they're not sending radio signals through the cavity fillings in your teeth. It's not real. It's not happening. And you're an idiot. You're just an idiot who doesn't know. You tried an argument. They want to be aligned with you. You try a presupposition. Maybe they caught it. This is a different problem. They're not like tuned out or absent in any way at all. They're actively holding a different frame and yours just bounced off. Step 2 here, if the thing doesn't work, is release the frame to the universe. Set it free. You don't care about the frame. Let it go. Whatever the hell you just tried to install, drop it. Don't reference it again. Don't try to build on top of it. It didn't take, and going back to it makes you look like somebody with a plan that sucks or no skills. And this is the hardest part for most people because you prepared, you had a statement, you had the question loaded up, and the instinct, I need to salvage the approach. And how do I salvage it? With everything I planned for. The willingness to let it go is what keeps you in the game here. So the person who drops it without flinching at all and then moves is dangerous because they showed you that they have more than one way in, which brings us to step 3. We shift the class, change it. So we tried one class of statement and it didn't land, and we try a different one. Not a different version of the same thing, a different class of statement. So if you open with pacing and they rejected your version of reality, you don't pace harder. Think about that really quick. Like pacing got rejected, you're like, no, I'm gonna pace hard. I'm gonna 10x. I'm gonna 10x this thing. Bad idea. So instead of that, I moved to resonance. Name what you see in them instead of describing the situation. That's a completely different entry point. So if you tried alignment and they didn't want to play on the same team, we moved to concession. This makes sense? So we give ground, acknowledge something that's real, that does something that alignment can't do against a hostile frame. In step 4, you'd kind of deploy that new pairing, a new statement class, a new question type, exact same destination, totally different door this time. And here's the thing I think your brains are all forgetting right now, or not aware of right now, not forgetting, is the second attempt actually has a huge advantage. I think the first attempt doesn't have an advantage because now you have data. You know what didn't work. You know something about how they hold their frame, what they protect, what they dismiss, what they're going to try to counter offer. So your first attempt was just a read, and your second attempt is way more well-informed. So the best operators that I've ever watched in my life, they don't land the frame on the first try. That's fine. They use the first statement the way a boxer uses like a jab. I'm not trying to do a knockout with a jab. I'm going to see how the other person moves. What do they protect? Where are they going to shift their weight? What opens up as they're starting to react? All right, let me keep this simple. You probably don't want to be watching an ad right now, but if you stay with me for 1 minute, this could change your entire life. It's already changed tens of thousands of people's lives all around the world. Most people try to influence by pushing harder. They say more, they explain more, and it rarely works the way that they want it to. This is because influence doesn't happen on the surface. Influence happens way underneath that. NCI level 3 is where you learn how behavior actually moves and how to guide it without any resistance. You start designing outcomes in your life instead of hoping for outcomes. You understand how decisions are made, and then you learn how to shape them. This is where all those things stop feeling random. NCI 3 is the most advanced behavior course in the world. I guarantee it. I just want you to check it out. I put the link right down below in the description. So we've got those 5 things. There's not a right way to do each one. There's not some like flow chart to where you can select everything. Every room that you walk into is going to have a frame that was there before you got there. Everywhere. Sometimes that's positional. The doctor holds authority. The attorney has leverage. They specialize in leverage. The executive has, what does he specialize in? Resources. Sometimes it's emotional. Someone's pissed off. They're scared. They're just checked out. And maybe there's narrative. There's a story that everybody in the room has agreed to about what the meeting is about, what the problem is, who's to blame, who's responsible for it. You need to see that frame before you try to replace it. And you can see frames. We've done so many classes, like here's the basic types of frames, how to spot them. If the frame that exists is built on authority, resonance and concession are pretty much your only way in. You're not going to out-authority somebody with more authority. You've got to go under it. Somebody holds some positional power, and the room is organized around that. So resonance says, I see you. Concession says, I'm not here to fight you. Both of those bypass the authority frame without challenging it to a fight. If the existing frame is adversarial, both sides are braced. There's tension in the room. Nobody trusts anybody's intention. Alignment has to be your opening move. And whoever installs first tends to own the conversation. The second question is, what do I need the other person to do next? Do not assume that this technique is about the outcome. 99% of techniques that you will learn, if you watch almost every grad school except for maybe 3 or 4 of them, it's not about achieving an outcome. It's what do I need them to do next? Because if I can always know what needs to happen next, you don't need to close sales anymore. You don't need to do anything anymore. It's never outcome based. So what do I need them to do in the next 30 seconds? That tells you what question type to use. And remember, the first one we just talked about statements. Now we're talking about questions. If I need them to arrive at a specific conclusion all by themselves, I'm going to go directional. If I need them to act like a decision's already been made, I might go with the assumptive thing. If I need information without them knowing, I know I have to use elicitation. If I need to shift the way they're looking at something, I'm going to reframe it. And if I need to establish myself as the one evaluating, I'm going into the diagnostic part of this. So 2 questions. What frame is already running? What do I need them to do next? Once you've drilled this a little bit, it takes about 2 seconds. And right now it feels like a lot, I'm sure. I promise you, if you practice this, you're not going to get good at it by sitting on your couch, printing this out, getting some scotch tape, putting it up on the wall in your office. And you did. Doctor didn't learn this in med school, I guarantee you. This thing built itself through 10,000 patient interaction. And then you had the boss. I appreciate how hard everybody here has been kind of stretched thin over these past few weeks. That's what kind of statement is that? It's a concession, right? It gives ground before he's asking for anything. It acknowledges some kind of cost. It names the difficulty, and it does it with enough warmth that it feels generous. And then the boss says, so what's realistic for everybody for a delivery date on this? What kind of question is that? It's a directional question. Realistic points in one direction toward something conservative and manageable, something that doesn't sound like you ignored what they just acknowledged. So the question has this like built-in gravity. It pulls your answer toward what? Moderation. And it was that fast. Concession plus directional. And you think of the parent example. Let's go back to that. When I asked you to feel what that felt like. Parent says, the only thing I've ever wanted in my life is what's best for you. And I hope you know that. This is a presupposition statement, but it's a deep one. She's not talking about a business decision or some corporate timeline, but the presupposition here is about identity. I am the one who loves you. I am the one with good intentions, and you know that. The parent, mom or dad, says, I just want you to help me understand what you're thinking here. What kind of question is that? Diagnostic. It makes you become the one who is evaluated. It puts the parent in the evaluator role and you in the role of the one who needs to explain. And that's just presupposition plus a diagnostic question. And that, sadly, maybe beautifully, it's a combination that some of you have been living inside of for maybe decades. Those 3 examples, doctor, boss, mom, dad, none of those people were trying to manipulate you. The doctor was being a doctor. The boss was managing a team. The parent was being a loving parent. This isn't like they read a playbook. And do you think any of them are thinking actively about frame control? Why is there still frame control going on? Because that architecture runs 24 hours a day in every situation you will ever be in for the rest of your life. Frame control is there. It's always there, everywhere. Statements set frames. Questions lock people inside of them. And if you can control that sequence, you can control where any conversation goes and what's possible inside of it.
Authorities are reporting a citywide manhunt underway.
The world is breathing, a fragile sound. sacred ground. A quiet pose, a steady beat, the truth we feel in simple heat. Barefoot steps on hallowed ground, a sacred rhythm we have found.
The world just breathes and I can feel it. A perfect promise, can't conceal it. Just shadows leaning on the light. Another beautiful quiet night.
The past is gone, but we remain, washing over all the pain. A simple truth, a feeling pure, a soft connection to endure.
The world just breathes and I can feel it. A perfect promise, can't conceal it. Just shadows leaning on the light. Another beautiful quiet night.